Hi, this is Max, the editor. Welcome to the TAAAM Music Commentary Series, where the music team of TAAAM does a deep dive into the composing and arranging of the entire show's score and answers some of your pressing questions. Before we begin, just a few quick disclaimers right at the front. We recorded all of Act 1 in one very, very long recording session with the idea we might put it all out at once. Instead, we will be splitting up our recording into a shorter, more regular series of videos. Each video will cover anywhere from 1 to 3 songs, or be dedicated to answering your questions, like this introduction video. Second, there will be spoilers, not only for our own show, but also general spoilers for the Phoenix Wright Attorney Trilogy, so you've been warned. And lastly, in our casual conversation, there is some occasional use of explicit or suggestive language from us, and by us I mean Kate, and sometimes me, so viewer discretion is advised. Regardless, we hope you enjoyed this look into our creative process. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this stuff. Thanks! Hello, welcome to the Turnabout and Ace Attorney Musical Music Commentary. Woo! If you are not aware, on this YouTube channel, there is a behind-the-scenes commentary stream of watching through the whole show with myself, who is Maxwell Dziabis, aka HiBob7, pronouns he, him. I hosted a stream where we went through and watched the entire show in like 8 hours and got some insight into the script writing and a lot into the video making process of TAAAM. But today we're going to be doing a different kind of commentary, specifically focused on the composing and arranging of Turnabout and Ace Attorney Musical. And I have to my right on this Discord call, the Urnsmashers, the music team behind TAAAM. So why don't you all introduce yourselves?
I can go first.
Go for it.
I am Sarah Shope, but in the Turnabout Musical sphere, I'm usually known as Arri. I have been involved with Turnabout Musical since 2008, back on the Court Records Forum. So I wrote about an amount of music, I've arranged a lot of music, and I came back on board for TAAAM in 2021, I think. Yes. And helped, again, with some of the composing and arranging. And I'm excited to talk about all this music.
Our wonderful grape juice bottle. That has been the grape juice bottle since 2008.
Yep.
Yeah! I'm Abby. I started with the project. I started kind of as a beta reader in 2020, I guess, and then I joined up, I don't know, like 2022?
2021.
21? Yep, totally. And I've done some lyrics and some arranging mostly with the project.
Hello. My name is Kate. And I got in with Turnabout Musical early 2021, like March or April 2021. And I was invited into the TAAAM project around the end of July 2021. And I did a lot of music stuff, making some of the piano vocal sheets. I did like the overture and some other stuff, and I did a few script edit stuffs, but that's not what we're talking about, so we don't need to talk about that.
It's me. I'm Lizzie.
Yay!
Hi, Lizzie.
I don't remember when I first watched TAAAM live, but I watched it at some point, and then I was formally invited to the TAAAM team on September 6th, 2021. And that's my TAAAM-iversary.
Oh damn, we just missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. I forget every year, and then I realized like 2 or 3 days later.
I forgot which year it was, so.
But I did exclusively music stuff. I did not really. I mean, I looked at the script, I read it, allegedly.
Allegedly. Lizzie still hasn't seen the show.
Yeah.
Lizzie went in blind. No goddamn clue what's happening.
But I did exclusively music stuff. I did mostly like engraving stuff, which if you don't know what that is, which is most people, that's just like making sheet music specifically. And yeah, that's me.
So we have a wonderful music team here. You can tell many of them got involved just a few years ago. But you may be aware, maybe by this point, that the Turnabout Musical project as a whole has been around for a lot longer. Like Arri said, she's been here since 2008. The project started in November of 2007, and TAAAM is just sort of the latest iteration of that. I have another video about the history of Turnabout Musical, the Turnabout Musical TED Style Talk, which you can find in the Turnabout Musical link tree in the description.
Plug.
So the reality is that a lot of the songs that you've heard in Turnabout and Ace Attorney Musical were not written by the four amazing people you see in front of you. Many of them were, and a lot of the underscore and the arranging is all very much fresh and new, and that's a lot of the focus of what we'll be doing. Talking about the music production today. But just so you know, the history of the show is a lot older, and a lot of it is composing and arranging songs based on work from other people. Do you have any other history things you want to add with that, Arri?
No, that's basically it. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows we're going to be talking about some songs that none of us actually worked on, like the lyrics or the original music for, but we did arrange or adapt it for TAAAM. So our commentary will be more about that end. There are songs that some of us wrote that we'll be able to talk more about, like the writing process, but this will be more about arranging. And also, since Lizzie mentioned sheet music, I think it's important to note that most of the show didn't have sheet music at all until people like Kate and Lizzie came on board and transcribed and made lead sheets and made piano vocal arrangements. And that's really incredible because it just made the show so much more accessible to everybody.
And I also want to shout you out, Arri, for being one of the few people it's like, oh yeah, I kept my Muse score files. I can send you whatever sheets actually existed from the original Turnabout Musical.
Sheet music for me was like purely a side effect of the fact that I used Finale to compose, and I'm very like visual with music, so I want to see it in front of me. So I just kind of incidentally had sheet music, but it was a mess. Oh my goodness.
Also, quick shout out to Ryan Cabildo, who did some initial transcriptions of Turnabout Musical music in 2017.
Thank you,
some
Ryan.
of which was built on for TAAAM as well. So before we get going into looking at the actual songs, I've just got a few preliminary questions which we have gotten from the community. So let's take a look at it. Here's a question from Alma with 2 A's, or 3 A's, I guess. How long did composing these songs take? And what program did you use? How many instruments were used?
Too many.
You have a list, don't you, Lizzie?
Yeah, we gave up on realistic instrument choices fairly early on.
Yes. I did go through and I made a list at some point where I just put together all of the, if you were to have like an actual pit orchestra playing the show from start to finish, how many of each instrument would you need? And so I have my little list right here. And so there are 11 woodwinds. There's 7 brass. There's 20 percussion. That seems really high, but a lot of them are like little handheld auxiliary percussion that one person could do all of them.
Shout out to
and they're only in Red, White, and You, I think.
Only in Red, White, and You.
It's fine.
But
Don't worry.
Except for the sleigh bells. The sleigh bells, I think, come back later.
Yes,
They do, of course.
But there's 20 of those. I don't know what this category of instrument is called. I call them chordals. That's just instruments that can play chords like piano, guitar, harp, accordion, organ, harpsichord. There's a harpsichord in this show.
Rhythm strings.
Goes up one time.
I love her. And there's 11 strings. So there are, if you wanted to have, there's certain songs that have like up to 4 violin parts, so you would need 4 separate violinists to play. So that's why there's 11 strings.
I'm sorry.
It's like Les Mis level of pit. Like, I feel like at one point we tried to even like parse it down a little bit to be like, here's the bare minimum that you would need, and it was like 20
Even
still.
You probably could cut down on some like violins and violas if you take like double stops into account, but like or not double stops, just playing chords and stuff on violin. But even then, it's still a lot though.
It's a lot. There's 4 cellos.
It's a lot.
I love me a good cello.
We got a soprano
That's true, though.
saxophone.
Cellos get rights.
I think that one's my fault too. The soprano
It is.
sax. I think
Let's
it's
go.
also in Red, White, and You.
It is.
It's not all necessary. You could definitely pare this down if you're interested, but this
It's
is
very necessary.
as it went
Excuse
on.
you.
So
and it was-
necessary. Listen,
clear
if you
that we
don't have a
weren't-
full harpsichord for your performance, like you don't get our
It's not
Oh,
blessing.
that is
sanctioned.
right. That is
It's not
one of the
sanctioned, that's
conditions.
it.
You have to have a full
It's in the
pipe organ.
contract. It's in the
You
contract.
cannot do Turnabout Musical if you don't commit to the bit.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the music programs you guys used, Arri mentioned Finale for some of the old Turnabout Musical stuff. As far as I'm aware, most of you guys used MuseScore, right?
Yes.
Yeah, MuseScore is a free music notation program. If you're like, I would like to make music, but I don't have the money to pay for an instrument or a program, MuseScore is free, so you should download it and use it. So most of us used that. I know Arri used Finale, and that was kind of a thing of like getting them to kind of talk back and forth.
Yeah, I did try with some of the later stuff that I arranged. I tried to do it originally in MuseScore to make that process easier, but it's really hard to learn a new program.
It's so hard.
The last of those questions was, how long did composing songs take?
It depends on the song, really.
It really does, yeah.
Well, I was not one of the people that did this, but like, and whoever did this, please step up and interrupt me to clarify. But I think things maybe closer to like Reawakening and I'll Be There, which were very, I think, based on the original orchestrations, but made cool, versus something like Decree, which had this whole process with it, and like Fight Like a Fae, which was completely original. You have a sliding scale of how long something takes, and it's just based on what did the original people give us to work with, and did we want to keep it, or did we want to have fun with it and change it from the ground up?
Yeah, there's definitely different like stages. Like, I don't know, you guys could probably tell how long a transcription took. Like, you take the song and put it into piano sheet music for the first time. That's going to take a amount of time. However long we're developing the song in terms of like changing the structure, changing the lyrics, all that, that's probably happened over the course of months, but like spread out. And then like the orchestration, for me, most of the songs that were like Reawakening, like some like the bigger songs, probably about a month each. Not constantly working on it, but like an accumulation of a month, like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that feels about right.
It's funny to say, like, how long did these songs take? It's like, well, depending on what you count.
Yeah, like,
what,
if we count-
what have I done?
Do we
Could have
count
taken
from
15 years, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Like, what have I done? It started in 2008 and then got finished in 2021, I think.
Yeah.
So, like,
Mm-hmm.
a long
And there
time.
And then, like,
There were
It
certain
Was
things where
Him
we
was
had,
done
like-
in, like, a day.
Yeah, it was like one day.
It was so fast.
There were certain things where we had like different goals. So
Yeah.
like a lot of the songs that Arri did, we just needed piano vocal sheets for because we already had everything else because Arri saved everything else.
Shout out to Arri.
And so
Shout out to Arri.
that stuff, like, that's called like a piano reduction, where you take a full orchestration that already exists and you're just reducing it down to piano and the vocal track. Would take like a day or two because it's all already kind of there, and you just kind of have to decide like what's the left hand gonna play, what's the right hand gonna play, what are like important things to keep. Composing a song from the ground up, from nothing, that is so dependent. It's so dependent
Yep.
on
Mm-hmm.
where your brain is and what's happening in your life.
Yeah, I have a couple like non-Turnabout Musical songs that I started working on fully a year ago and haven't finished because the muse.
Yeah.
It's just
The muse is a cruel bitch.
If you weren't
Yeah.
aware, none of us are musicians, like, by career or trade. Like, this is all
Yeah.
stuff that we do in our free time. Okay, here's a question from Kevin Cullen. Were the songs worked on in any sequence, such as order they appear or complexity? What was the first and last song completed?
I have a thought about sequence, which is specifically no, there wasn't really a sequence until there were a few that still needed to be arranged while we were recording them with our cast, and so then they became arranged in the sequence in which we needed to finish them. They're
It
all
all
Yeah,
worked
so I
out.
think I have an answer. I think I have an answer for last song. So I think the absolute last song would have been the bonus track credit sequence that
Yes.
Lizzie and I
Oh,
did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the
yes.
last song, like in the show proper, that was written was "Fight Like a Fae" reprise.
That's right.
Because
yes.
That
I
sounds
think
right.
It wasn't finished
I think I
until
wrote it
like the week it was
the
gonna
week
be
before
recorded.
MJ
Was due.
recorded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had an
Yeah,
earlier
Fight-
version, but we
Yeah,
needed- we
because I
needed to
had
make
a
another
version
one.
that was based on. We'll talk about this. I think with Flaff, but it was based on an earlier version of Flaff. Fight Like a Fae. Sorry.
A lot of abbreviations.
Y'all gonna learn some initialisms today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was based on an original version. So I had something, but then we never updated it until right when we needed it.
I think Fight Like a Fae was finished, like fully finished, a week or two before auditions.
It was a
I'm
few
pretty
days,
sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Because Arri was the one who made our amazing, beautiful schedule for actual like production, and I remember she put "Fight Like a Fae." I think it was MJ's last song that she recorded, and I think it was made that way in the schedule because it wasn't written yet when she made the schedule, and so she was trying to give me as much time as possible to finish writing it. And I finished it like I think a couple weeks before auditions because I remember we did use it for callbacks.
We did.
Yes.
Mhm.
We did.
And it was a secret at that
That was
time.
the first.
Hot
That
It was
was
a
the,
secret.
that was the
Yes.
hottest secret. Yeah, I mean, for reference, like, there's a very substantial difference between when we were writing the show and then when we decided the production was happening and this was the
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah. It became very real very quickly.
Yeah.
The first song to be completed, I mean, we just did the math, like 15 years ago, the first song that was in the show that was finished was, what, the Objection song?
Well, I mean, it depends. Like,
or
is
or
it,
first song that was written, I should say.
first
Yeah.
song that was written would be, yeah, I think you're right, the Objection song in its first incarnation, which is quite different from
is.
even the Turnabout Musical non-TAAAM version.
Right.
But yeah, I think that would have been first.
Justice for All is probably the closest one that was, like, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
From demo to now. I mean, the difference, we used Try's 2019 arrangement,
Yeah.
but otherwise it's, you know, it's the same song.
It's the same song.
And then the first song we completed for TAAAM, What He Deserves, is probably the closest in terms of arrangement, right?
I think so, because I think
Yeah.
that one was
Same.
kind of, I came on board.
Like, you knocked that out in
I s-
one.
Yeah,
You
it
got
took me
really
like
fast.
2 or 3 weeks. I was like, I have a vision for what this is going to be. I expanded Abby's lyrics and then was like, here it is. And I think we made a couple of tweaks to the ending and maybe like a couple spots, but it didn't really change from that original version. So that might technically be first.
Funnily enough, I think one of the earliest, like, major songs in the show that was done very quickly was Dawn.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's called hyperfixation, baby.
and
Let's
that,
go.
and that was a great moment for the whole team to just be like, wow, look at what we can do. Last of the questions before we get into the music. This is from Sarah Jam. I'd like to ask if there's a specific process that you use when writing each song. So I guess, do you guys have a particular, like, when it's time to start a song or time to work on a song, what's the kind of flow that you try to get into?
I think if
Uh,
we're talking about writing a song, for me personally, lyrics usually come first.
I'm the same.
I know that like Matthew Toronto was the opposite. He would do music first and then figure out the lyrics, which is fascinating to me. I know a lot of people work that way. I don't. For I think like arranging, or orchestrating, which we could probably speak to more if there's a process. For me, I always wanted to have the chords figured out so that I knew like what notes I could use in each measure. It was kind of mathematical.
Yeah, I think we found Lizzie and I have worked together on some songs and we kind of work in the opposite direction because I definitely start from lyrics and then kind of like figure out a melody that goes with them and only then like start thinking about the music that goes underneath.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll like write music without knowing what the chords are and then I have to figure it out later.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lizzie kind of goes in the opposite direction, right?
Yeah, I don't really write lyrics is the thing. I write some lyrics. You'll see my name occasionally sprinkled throughout the show having a lyric credit. But I don't, for like my own original songs, I very rarely write lyrics. So So I'll write a song and then I'll give it to Abby, and I'm like, can you please put lyrics in it, please? So that's kind of why that works that way. It really depends on whether or not I do chords or do like a melody first. I find that a lot of the issues that I run into is if I write like a backtrack or like chords first, I can't think of anything to put on top of it. So I'm like, I feel like I have an easier time coming up with a melody and then just putting the chords underneath it. Writing a song right now, oh my gosh, crazy, where I wrote the chords first and I went through like 6 different melodies where I was like, oh, that could work. No, I hate that. This could work. No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, this could work.
That's
Oh
real.
no, that's just Les Mis. I can't use that.
That's so real.
That's the real songwriting process. No matter where you start, it's just that
all
doesn't
roads
work.
lead to Les Mis.
How about you, Kate?
I will say I did not do too much like original music for TAAAM. I did some like transitional stuff, like in specific bits of music. Not like I don't think I did a single underscore in this show, but I mean like there were bits that I had to come up with to like thread stuff together. My
Like underscore under
songwriting
song dialogue. You did a lot of
exactly that. Yes. And my method for that, and you will see this almost every single time there's a piece of music that I wrote. You will see the entire method is just stacking different motifs on top of each other and seeing what
We love it,
works.
though. We love
And
it.
that's all I know how to do. And you will see that every time. You're like, if you hear like 2 or 3 different things stacked on top of each other, I would say at like solid 7 out of 10 times, if it wasn't in the original TM, that was probably me.
And it's great because you have a good ear for like what stacks and like what sounds good together.
I spent way too much time, like I think even before, because the first song that I remember working on was Dawn. But I spent way too much time while I was kind of in like the month or 2 before I was officially like, here, look at this thing that I wrote. I spent way too much time being like, what Phoenix motif and what Edgeworth motif can stack on top of each other and sound good? How many can work like this? Is there more than one pair? Can I do this? And lo and behold, I found like 2 pairs of motifs that stack, and you hear them multiple times throughout, and you're welcome.
I'm trying to remember, did we ever release the Urnsmashers first drafts be like audio?
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember.
That should go. That'll go in the bonus tracks
That's
album.
a good one though.
Is Criminal House how good it sounds?
Still.
I still can't believe it. Got the demon there who's laughing with Sal. But if I have faith, I'll achieve it. I don't need an alibi. This all this day. For peace, I fight for justice. So I and save the single I won't allow this to my face to my one I'll stand for a spell and shaggy one because the Ghostbusters spell was so go help Mr. Edwards to save him his least. He's the guy you can trust. Now that's your presence staring down my face. And my ground comes back down and let me go. What?
I think I shared it and somebody thought it was serious. They're like, oh, this doesn't sound bad. I was like,
No, you don't get it. You don't understand.
There was one other question that I wanted to bring up from Avery Tube Studios. How do you choose what parts of a case to turn into a song? Well, considering the fact that many of these songs were here when we got here, that's not always relevant. But when it is to all these various pieces, like where do we add music where there wasn't music before, we'll answer that as we go.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to get into Act 1?
Let's do it.
do it.
Let's go.
All right.